Welcome to the 3D terraining portion of San Antonio College's 2020 3D Technologies Summer Camp. I'm your host, Aaron Ellis. In this video, we will discuss what 3D terraining is, discover how it works, learn about some virtual landscaping tools, and then use one of those programs to create simple terrains and even planets. With that said, let's get started. 3D terraining is the creation of digital landscape objects, often through procedural geometric math processes. Virtual worlds seen in film, television, video games, and NASA simulations can often look completely real, but at the heart of every 3D terrain object, even the most complex, it is a simple black and white image. This is possible because specialized computer software has been written to interpret light parts of an image as higher and dark parts of an image as lower. This is similar to how things work in the real world. Cracks in pavement are darker than the surrounding area because they are lower, and light can't reach those hidden spots as well. I mentioned earlier that terrains are often created using procedural techniques. But what does that mean? In simplified terms, procedurally generated objects are created by applying one or more mathematical algorithms to raw data. Procedural terrain creation means that by using the exact same settings and values, two different people could make identical landscapes. The original input data could be as simple as a checkerboard or a drawing of a smiley face. Or the image could be randomly generated using a variety of algorithms like Voronoi and Perlin. No matter where the starting data originates, the real magic of procedural terrain generation is in the mathematical calculations that simulate the effects of water erosion and thermal weathering. Two powerful terrain generation tools are World Machine and Gaia. Both can be used to simulate complex geographic morphology. These specialized programs are used to make believable landscapes for films and games, but they are a bit too difficult for us to learn in this summer camp because the options are so vast and the processes are so wildly different from traditional content creation techniques. In fact, creating terrains with these tools is really more like programming than modeling or sculpting. These programs are professional software that can cost hundreds of dollars, but World Machine has a limited free version for those who want to try it out. Also, as powerful as they are, both World Machine and Gaia only run on the Windows computer operating system. Since not everyone uses Windows, that is a potentially major limitation for this portion of the 3D summer camp. Fortunately, there are simpler and cross-platform tools for making virtual landscapes. For this summer camp discipline, Blender 3D and the ANT Landscape add-on for Blender are used. Blender isn't the easiest program to learn, but it is powerful, free, and it's available for Windows, Macintosh, and Linux operating systems. Once Blender 2.83 has been downloaded from www.blender.org, installed, and started for the first time, you will need to add the terrain tools to the software. To activate the ANT Landscape add-on, all you need to do is select Preferences from the Edit menu option in Blender. Then, at the Preferences pop-up panel, locate and click the Add-ons tab, and in the magnifying glass search area, type ANT with the periods, and the add-on entry should appear. From there, you can check the small box to the left of the Add Mesh ANT Landscape option, and then close the pop-up panel. After the terrain add-on has been activated, you can create new landscapes or planet objects by locating and clicking the Add, Mesh, and Landscape menu options. Once that is done, a new terrain patch is added to the Blender scene. Also, you may notice that a collapsed Terrain Parameters panel appears in the lower left corner of the Blender 3D workspace. This panel can be expanded by clicking the little triangle to the left of the panel title. While building a terrain, be sure not to click anywhere but the ANT Landscape Settings panel, or Blender will probably think that you are finished editing the terrain's shape. But if you do accidentally deselect the landscape or the parameters panel somehow goes away, it's best to delete the terrain and any water layers you might have, and add a new terrain into the scene. Blender will remember your settings, so you shouldn't lose anything unless you closed the program and reopened it. If you apply the settings exactly as you see here in this section of the video, you will be able to make a planet just like the one I have. But remember, the parameters need to be identical to get the same look as the one I have. If you want to make a landscape patch instead of a simplified planet, you can apply the settings from this section of the video to build a small island. But remember, the parameters need to be identical to get the same look as the one I have. An island like this, with just one terrain object, is okay, but it's a little boring. Where things get really interesting is when we add more landscapes to the same scene with different elevations and scales. This also gives us a little more control over the placement of cool features like mountains, plateaus, or valleys. Making virtual landscapes in Blender, World Machine, or Gaia isn't super easy, but it can be addictive once you figure out the rules. With procedural terrain creation, the possibilities are truly endless. I have included a starter project file in an email to your family that can be used as a starting point for your projects. Have fun making your own landscapes and worlds. Let me know if you have any problems or questions, and I'll be happy to help.